The original Game Boy was a chunky grey brick with a greenish monochrome screen and just 2 action buttons. It ran on 4 AA batteries and gave you up to 15 hours of play, far better than anything else at the time. It launched with Tetris, and that was the game that made it unstoppable. Tetris wasn't just addictive, it was universal, and suddenly the Game Boy wasn't just for kids. Adults played it too, everywhere from subways to airports. Over time, more hits followed. Super Mario Land, Link's Awakening, Metroid 2. It became a mainstay of the playground. It outsold far more powerful competitors like the Atari Lynx and Sega Game Gear. Those systems had color screens and better graphics, but they were expensive and drained batteries in just a few hours. In 1996, Nintendo released the Game Boy Pocket. It was smaller, lighter, and used just 2 AAA batteries. The screen was sharper and truly black and white, not the greenish tint of the original. It still didn't have a backlight, but the form factor was a huge step forward. This model arrived right as Pokémon was becoming a global phenomenon. That timing couldn't have been better. Pokémon Red and Blue launched shortly after, and suddenly the Game Boy Pocket was everywhere. Then came the color revolution. In 1998, Nintendo introduced the Game Boy Color. It looked similar to the Pocket but had a color screen and a faster processor. Games like Pokémon Gold, Zelda Oracle of Ages, and Wario Land 3 looked fantastic. It could display dozens of colors at once and was still compatible with older Game Boy games. A brilliant move by Nintendo. It sold over 50 million units worldwide. By 2001, Nintendo made a big leap. The Game Boy Advance arrived with 32-bit power, a horizontal layout and shoulder buttons, a first for handhelds. It was a proper evolution, bringing handheld gaming closer to the SNES in terms of performance. And with titles like Advance Wars, Castlevania Aria of Sorrow, and Metroid Fusion, the library was stellar. It still didn't have a backlight, oddly enough, but it sold about 81 million units. No one else was really in the race. Sega was out, and Sony's PSP was still a few years away. Then in 2003, Nintendo delivered something many had been asking for, the Game Boy Advance SP. Same internals, but a new folding design, a front-lit screen, and most importantly, a rechargeable battery. Later models included a fully backlit screen that finally made games easy to see in any light. It felt like a premium handheld. It protected the screen, looked great, and played every Game Boy and GBA game. Over 40 million were sold. In 2005, Nintendo released the Game Boy Micro. It was tiny, just 4 inches wide, with a gorgeous sharp screen and a metal shell. It looked like a designer product. It played only Game Boy Advance games, no support for older cartridges, and launched after the Nintendo DS had already started dominating the market. It sold only around 2.5 million units. Too little, too late. But today, it's become a collector's favorite.